Alrighty, World Arena Insight Season infographic. So, 2023 is over, and this last season was, in my opinion, probably one of the worst seasons in the history of Epic 7. And let me just real quick say that I know a lot of people are going to say, but people think that every season. But you know what? I am going to explain why people think that every season, and it's not just because we're crazy. I know we do play gachas, but there's more to it than that. And I believe that this infographic is going to kind of help explain why I feel this way, and what I think has been kind of going wrong with Epic 7 recently. And some of my biggest gripes. Let's take a look. Top 20 pre-bans. So this is throughout the entire season, the top pre-bans. Wow, would you look at that? Lua is still number 1. The same as last season. And the season before that. And the season before that. What an unbelievable surprise. And the only reason why it's lower, I believe it was like 60-something% previously. It was much higher. I wonder why it's lower. Oh, wait. Navy Captain Landy and Abyssal Euphine exist, and Angel of Light. That's why they're not being banned as much. Now, something that is interesting is seeing Conquer Liz so low, but that makes sense because they have, like, Moon Bunny got buffed and all that kind of stuff. Also, Zio, Moon Bunny is a really good combo versus her. Just more answers to Conquer Liz. But what's funny is, right now, as we speak, Conquer Liz seems pretty insanely strong at the moment, but regardless, people feel like they can't pre-ban her compared to... I see Lua bans out of myself and my opponent a good amount of the time. Landy is banned by every cleaver, basically, and is also just really frustrating. Angel of Light is banned mostly because she's so frustrating. Abyssal Euphine, definitely a really top-tier pre-ban as well, also banned by cleavers all the time. Knockwall, I see Lua Knockwall combo banned by a lot of people as well. They just do not want to deal with the cooldown reduction. Maybe the new character Laya is going to help with that. Briarwitch Asaria, if you're a slower player, especially when you're trying to use Abyssal Euphine on Holy Sack, you pretty much always pre-ban this. And, you know, some of these start to become a little less important, but yeah, Conquer Liz, you just don't see as much of her. Death Dealer Ray, I mean, let's be real, he's a broken character. There's more answers to him with stuff like Sharoon and Moon Bunny's decent against him, but like realistically, he didn't really have any counters. So he would just completely destroy you by himself. He was just such a busted character. In every playstyle too. Slow, fast, it didn't matter. Then Moon Bunny Dominio, come on. We know the kind of people that are pre-banning this character. Alright? We know these people. They're picking Death Dealer Ray and Conquer Liz. They're the problem. If you're pre-banning this, you're picking this crap. We all know that, okay? Savior Aiden, and then, I mean, I'm not going to explain every single thing. Savior Aiden, Belian, Last Crow, Karina, Ran, Ocean Breeze, Luca, Martial Artist Ken pre-ban, Unbound Knight Arrow, Lionheart, Galalis. So, you know, this is champion and above. I would say a lot of these pre-bans make sense. Just some of the most annoying, frustrating characters, or just straight up overpowered characters, or characters that completely kill your playstyle, like Abyssal Euphine can kill your playstyle, Angel of Light can kill your playstyle, Lua, Landy, Knockwall, Zio, right? They're characters that can just completely crush you. Really frustrating characters. Nobody wants to fight any of these, really. And, you know, if you look at previous season infographics, you're going to see a lot of the same characters. Maybe they're in a different order, maybe they have different percentages, but it's still all the same characters that are hated, except when they add new ones like Landy and Euphine that people hate even more. So, if we look at the previous season, so this was Insight season, Lua was 64%, and then before that, Lua was 62%. Yay, it went down a whole 14%. Look at that. Good job. Angel of Light was second place last time, but before that it was Conquer Liz, and Angel of Light was third place. Ironically, Angel of Light was third place with around the same pre-ban as 2 seasons ago, except Landy took Conquer Liz's spot. But, I mean, if you look at the season exactly previous, not 2 seasons ago, look, there's Landy, Conquer Liz, Zio, Lester Krau's higher up, oh, Belian, Karina, Aiden, Briarwood. It's the same characters for the most part. As you go down, yeah, it changes more when you get lower, but look, if a unit has like a 5% pre-ban rate, that's fine. There's actually nothing wrong with the character having a 5% pre-ban rate. That means, like, you know, that they're not as much precedence. But when a character starts having, like, you know, 20% or above, it usually means they're pretty damn important. Also, somehow Last Star Crow had 198% pre-ban. Holy crap. He was banned by both players almost every game except for 2% of the time. They forgot the decimal. And they added an extra space right here. I don't know why I'm nitpicking. I just think it's kind of funny. What? Yeah, right here as well. What do they do? Whatever. Basically, very similar to last season, except Euphine got added to the mix and a few characters swapped places. Kind of just the same thing. Now, I want to use this to start to illustrate what some of my issues with RTA are right now. I said it a bit in my last video, but the game is very stale right now. Very, very stale. And it's been stale. At this point in the game, it's not that people are looking for one or two cool new ML5s to come out, or RGB units, or limited units. That doesn't change anything. And you can see over multiple seasons that it really doesn't change anything overall either, right? You still see a lot of the same exact units, and it's kind of boring. That's kind of my feeling, and a lot of other people's feeling. Like, E7 made an all-time low amount of money in their recent thing, and I know a lot of people keep talking about it, but it does help illustrate the fact that people are kind of bored. They don't really care right now. And when you see how stale stuff is, it kind of just shows that, right? E7 needs to find a way to add things other than just, you know, a couple new characters. Something that I always propose every single time is, well, like, okay, look at a game like League of Legends, and, you know, you can hate it all you want. I hate that game, too. You can hate Riot all you want. But you know something they actually do is spice the game up? Every preseason, they change up the game so much. And everyone always complains and says it's the worst thing ever. But it makes it more interesting when people are trying to discover things and find new things that they're like, holy crap, all the items are different, the map's different, champions are different, right? It's fun to try things out. What I propose Smilegate does is every preseason, they should just, like, or maybe every other preseason at least, they should just buff like 20 characters. You don't even have to nerf stuff. Just, like, buff literally 25 stars, or, you know, characters that actually could potentially become good. In the preseason, too, right? What's the point of a preseason if you're not going to do something like that? Every single chart for E7 playtime basically goes, people are playing a little bit, then people start playing more, maybe characters get added, people start playing a little bit more, then they announce the RTA skin. It shoots up, everyone's playing really hard, right? Last couple weeks, it shoots up to the absolute peak. Final day happens, RTA closes, goes down to the absolute minimum, and then for the whole preseason, it's basically the minimum because nobody wants to play. There's nothing going on. They don't change anything meaningful. It's not interesting. There's no point. Preseason doesn't even need to exist. It's literally pointless. Hell, honestly, the first 2 months of RTA don't even need to exist if you think about it. There's really nothing happens in the first 2 months of RTA, does it? Because everyone just waits until the end to play RTA, and all the top, like, legend players wait until the end as well. So, like, why even have the first 2 months of RTA at that point? Now, I think there would be more of a purpose of having RTA for a longer period of time if they changed a lot of stuff, because then people are figuring out the meta and figuring things out. If you actually add a lot of fixes and, like, buffs to characters, because in my eyes, what do you find more exciting? Them adding a couple of ML units or RGB units or something that you find kind of cool, or buffing characters that potentially, like, maybe some of your favorite characters are just trash. And if they get buffed, maybe they're not good, but they have the potential to be good. It gets you excited. I think buffs make people excited in this game more than anything else, but you know what? Buffs don't pay the bills. They don't make any money. They can buff characters all day and Smilegate's not going to make any money. But that's fine. That is okay. You can make these units and you can buff units. But that's extra work, and I'm not sure that Smilegate really wants to go through with that. But you know, this is kind of my feeling on it right now. Let's continue with this post. Top 10 pre-bans early stage. So it was Lua Angel Light Landy. Then mid stage, Lua Angel Light Landy. And then Euphine pops up out of nowhere. Suddenly she's the 4th most pre-banned. And then, oh look, she's the 2nd most pre-banned by the end of the season. She just kept moving up more and more and more. So yeah, this character is definitely an issue, and I'll touch a bit more on that in just a little bit. Top 20 first picks all stages. Conqueror Lilius is the most picked character. Very interesting. She's not pre-banned as much because there's more answers to her, but she's also still picked a lot. As somebody who swapped to Cleave, I did not see her picked nearly as much, because if somebody's picking Conqueror Lilius into your Zeo first pick, they have lost their marbles. They're an absolute insane person. So I wasn't really seeing that too much, right? But you guys had to deal with it, sorry. But when I was doing my Moon Bunny Cleave, I still would see her sometimes. Abyssal Euphine became one of the most popular picks. Look, I'm just going to say it straight up. When people are first picking a DPS, that usually means there's a problem. Because normally how the draft goes is you want to pick more ambiguous characters or supports that help prop your team up. But if everybody is first picking a DPS, that means that DPS has so few counters that they're just broken, basically, right? Like S10A used to be first picked a lot of the time in certain metas, and that usually means she's kind of OP, because like that means there's just so few answers against the character that you can just fearlessly do that, right? And Euphine is kind of the same here, where if everybody's just first picking her, and you might say only 10%, but bro, that's a lot of people. From my experience, like at least half the people I was fighting were first picking Abyssal Euphine and then go Crimson Arm and Destina, right? Like that, this DPS had almost no counters in the game. They were good into Cleave, Aggro, and Standard, so like why would you not want to use this unit, basically? That's kind of how they felt. Then we have like, you know, some ambiguous, like Conqueror, Lilius, Arrow, and Lua, they can be played in all sorts of playstyles. Well, I mean, I guess Arrow is more for slow, but you know, they're like safe picks, right? Zeo is kind of committing to a Cleave draft. Euphine, you can flex to any type of draft. Landy, you can kind of flex to different drafts. You know, like, I was one of the people first picking Moon Bunny a bunch, actually. But what I'm trying to say is that Euphine and Landy, especially Euphine, it kind of shows how insane they were, that you're just picking them that early, right? It's kind of a bit of a problem. And then, you know, we start seeing more Death Dealer Ray by the end and other things like that. But let's take a look how it is compared to last season. So Conqueror Lilius was first picked 198% of the time. She was picked less than last season by a lot, actually. So good on Smilegate for reducing the amount of Conqueror Lilius that was picked. Hell, she was picked even more there. Look, Conqueror Lilius just keeps going down. But she's still a problem. I don't really think a character should be the best first pick for like 6 seasons in a row, personally. Just seems kind of dumb. And then we have Unbound Knight Arrowell, and then it changes to Navy Captain Landy last season, and then Abyssal Euphine this season. That is very funny, because I would say this meta back here was like you needed Arrowell in every game. Then this meta was like you needed Landy on your team, and this season it was you needed Abyssal Euphine on your team. Even more than the Conqueror Lilius, the second pick is more indicative of the meta, I would say. This is back when people used Mediator Quirk before Knockwall and other stuff, and when you could deal with debuffs easier. Then it became Last Strider Crow, and then it became Unbound Knight Arrow again. Lua's actually down to 4th. Interesting, but you see a lot of Unbound Knight Arrow near the top, obviously, still. Looks like all the way back there was Spectre Tenebria. I'm more paying attention to just the previous season, though. A lot of the same characters, Zeo, Lua, just they trade places and stuff. You know, it's mostly the same characters. The things that you see added in are a few stuff like Moon Bunny Dominial, Abyssal Euphine, and that's Death to the Ray, and that's because their changes either happen to them or they get released, right? So most of the same stuff other than like a few changes, right? So in Conquerorless Errol Landy, Conquerorless Errol Landy, Conquer Lilius Abyssal Euphane, Zeo, improvements! Yeah! Wait, no, that's worse. Not very pretty. Every season, Conquer Lilius is OP, and Lua. The reason why I see such a low pick rate from characters like Lua is because they're pre-banned so often. Also, Euphane was pre-banned a lot, so her pick rate would actually be maybe higher. Actually, yeah, I think Abyssal Euphane might have a higher pick rate than Conquer Lilius if she wasn't pre-banned so often. She was pre-banned a lot. So, kind of crazy. Top 20 picks all stages. Oh boy, the most picked characters. And so, before I even really look at this, let me just say something to continue my argument over how I think the game is kind of stale and boring. So, going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, is a lot of people like to say that, oh, people complain about every RTA meta. They always say it's the worst meta. And my reasoning to that is that I believe every meta is actually the worst meta. And the reason why is because essentially Smilegate has the foundations for RTA. The foundations are stuff like Lua, Conquer Lilius, you know, Angel of Light, all these really frustrating, annoying units that are just always the best and overpowered and frustrating to fight, honestly. And then the whole house is built on that. So essentially what I'm saying is it doesn't matter how many characters you release, and it doesn't matter how many balance changes you do, when you have these unbelievably broken units that kind of just conquer everything. And sure, the character Moon Bunny that got banned or buffed, that helped the meta a bit, right? Especially against Conquer Lilius. And you know what? Laya, the character that's being released, is going to help a lot versus Conquer Lilius, or, well, actually more Lua, Knockwall, and Angel of Light, right? And so you might say, okay, well, you're wrong on that. But, like, am I wrong? We've played for, like, at least 2 to 3 years now of Conquer Lilius, like, first pick. Like, you really couldn't solve that for years, Smilegate. Same with Lua, same with Angel of Light. Aiden, look, like, let's start looking at this. Aiden has been a problem since her release on how frustrating she is and good she is just all the time. And she's an RNG annoying ass unit. And look at that. She's picked half of the time. Half of all games have a unit with 70% evasion. Think about that for a second. That means half of all games are just RNG gamble of does she get hit or not. Don't you think that's like kind of annoying? That's kind of a problem, right? And she's been picked basically this much since her release. She's picked nonstop because she's so safe, but also RNG and just frustrating, right? Look, Conquer Lilius. Wow, she's picked in half of all games. Shocker, right? Like, these characters always just crop up. Like, last year, Crow, ever since he was buffed, became really popular, right? Abyssal Euphane, I mean, honestly, her pick rate would be higher. I don't think she was out for the entire season. It would be even higher, and also she gets banned more often. Navy Captain Landy, you see her a little bit less because some of the buffs and changes and stuff like that, but, you know, overall. Moon Bunny Dominial is so popular literally just because of Conquer Lilius and Death Dealer Ray, basically. Right? Or in conjunction with, like, Lilius to deal with Lua or something like that. Unbound Knight Arrowell, where you see her all the time. Zeo, you see him all the time. Lionheart Surmia gets picked because of characters like Conquer Lilius or Abyssal Euphane or Navy Captain Landy. Spectre Tenebris is still on the board. Angel of Light, interestingly, is much lower than normal. Usually she's way higher up. Kind of surprising. Ocean Breeze Luca, Briar Witch, Death Dealer Ray. Lua, we said it before, she just has such a high ban rate that obviously she's going to be low down. The higher your ban rate, the lower down you'll appear just because you can't be picked as often, obviously, right? Ran is actually kind of at like an all-time low. What I'm trying to say, though, is that you kind of always just see the usual suspects, the characters that we see all the time, and they're always the ones that kind of affect things. And I think it's a problem. That's why if Smilegate was able to mix things up at the start of every season, I think that it would improve people's perception of the game. It would also excite people. I think that's something that E7 has been missing for us veteran players for a while, is feeling really like everything's figured out, right? We want that sense of discovery again. That's how I see it. That's how I feel. It's really fun when you're trying to figure out the meta, when you're trying to figure out like what units are safe to pick at what points or like are good. If you buffed a bunch of units, it mixes so much up and there's so much to discover and learn and try out, and that's what excites people. That's what makes people want to play RTA. That's what makes people want to spend money to farm hunts and stuff like that, or spend money to pull characters, because like they get that sense of excitement where they're like, oh, this character is really cool, this is a really interesting effect, I want to use it, I want to try it out, I want to build this kind of build. They start tuning into streams and watching YouTube videos trying to figure out more about the game and like what's going on right now and like what they should be building and doing, and people get hyped. People get really excited. But Smoggate just doesn't do that. They buff like 5 units, and then like 3 of those units are trash even after the buff, and you're just like, okay. So there's like 300 characters in Epic 7, and 2 of them are usable now, and you do this every 2 months. Like, are you for real? Like what are you doing? Right? That's nothing. You don't even have to nerf characters. Look, I'm an advocate of nerfs, but you don't even have to nerf. Just please actually put effort into buffing. I swear on my damn life that it will excite people and make people more interested. I swear it'll make people more excited. Like, nothing is more boring than the season of RTA ending and it going to preseason, and just everybody stops playing because who cares about the preseason? It's pointless. In the preseason, if my opponent first picked Angel of Light, I instantly left the match because who even cares? It's worthless. I don't even want to play it out. I don't even want to fight somebody that does that. It's just annoying. So I just would leave the match. I'm like, get me out of here. Craptastic in chat said, it's kind of boring that there's 300 plus characters in the game and you really only see 20 in 99% of the matches. Yep. You pick all the same usual suspects in the first like 3 to 4 picks, and then your last pick is going to be like, people always use this argument on Reddit. I always would see this. They're like, in my time playing RTA, I saw like 60 different units get picked. There's actually a lot of variety and people don't understand. And it'll be like, the first 4 picks are like Conquer Lilius, Angel of Light, Emma Landy, and like Emo Yufine, and then their last pick is like Emo Kawazu, and then the Emo Kawazu gets banned because it's good against the other person's team. Because you have to ban the last pick unless the opponent screws up. And they'll be like, there was actually so much variety. They picked all these different units. Yeah, they were all at the end of the draft, genius. Because that's how the game works, is you have like a bunch of units that you don't pick all the time, but that are good in specific scenarios that you pick at the end of the draft, and then the opponent feels obligated to ban it because it counters the whole team. Like, duh. That's literally how Epic 7 works. So seeing the same exact units pretty much at the first 3 to 4 picks of every draft means the game is still boring as hell, right? And it makes it so it's not interesting to people. That's just how it works. I'm sorry that a lot of people don't seem to realize this, but like, sure, metas change a bit. Like every season, you know, the meta shifts a little bit, but even with the meta shifting, we're just seeing the same units used in different order and with other OP units that we've seen all the time, basically, right? It's all the same things, is it not? Anyways, let's continue here. Savior Aiden actually was only picked 40% of the time previously, and 40% previously, so her pick rate went up 10%. You want to know one big reason why? It's because she was decent against Emo Yufine. She was safe against her. And she's good versus Cleve. So she was picked a lot because of those two. And she's even good against like Emo Ken. She's also a character that's technically safe against Emo Landy. Like, sure, she doesn't really beat Emo Landy, but Emo Landy doesn't really beat her. So, like, you feel more safe picking a character like that. When Spectre Tenebria conquered this Aiden, that kind of just shows how the meta shifted, right? This meta was more Spectre Tenebria, like Ahmed or like Clevey kind of combo, because it was really aggressive. This meta, it slowed things down due to Landy. And then this meta was basically all Yufine / Cleve. Like, you were either Playing tank down, slow Yufine, or you were cleaving. Pretty much. That's what was really popular. So Last Strider Crow was still absurdly popular. Conquer Lilius. Unbound Knight Arrowell went down a bit. Obviously, characters like Moon Bunny moved up because of Conquer Lilius being picked so often. Navy Captain Landy. The reason why Navy Captain Landy was so low here is because she was literally banned so often that you couldn't pick her. Like, that's the reason why she's so low down last season. But this season, there were a little bit more counters to her and ways to fight her, so you see more of her. And also, there's only so many pre-bans, so, you know, you can't pre-ban everything, right? But yeah, overall, a lot of the same characters. Apocalypse Ravi, though, completely taken out of the game. This character does not exist anymore. Death Dealer Ray showing up since his buff. Interesting, Briar Witch's Saria actually went up. No, that makes sense because of Abyssal Euthane. Really good character versus them. But yeah, a lot of the usual suspects other than the characters that were buffed to deal with some of the OP characters, you know, like Martial Artist Ken and stuff, or characters that were just added in, or, you know, like Death Dealer Ray was buffed. Like, some of these changed a little bit, but a lot of the same characters just as a whole. Top 20 picks early stage. Aiden was actually higher. And then we see this change a little bit. Oh, Yufine suddenly appears mid-stage and is picked a lot. Do we see it go down? We see it go down a bit because she starts getting banned more often. Yeah. A lot of people like to ban Yufine and Landy as well. Knockwall, obviously good versus both those units. Interesting, I don't see Knockwall more. Knockwall is popular there, but interesting, Knockwall is not as popular by the end. Personally, I think Knockwall is pretty OP, but I suppose it just kind of sucks S3 into Aiden in the first turn, and Moon Bunny's decent against her, and she can be outsped by like Conquer Lilius and stuff, but, you know, there's a few facets to that. Alright. Deadline status. Okay, let's look at the leagues. Oh boy. So, this season compared to... Wait, this season is right here. Last season is this one. Have I been getting the thing wrong the whole time? No, I'm pretty sure this was Insight season. In fact, I'm 100% sure. Okay. They just swapped it on us. Alright, so Insight season... Win rate went down. Win rate went down. Win rate was the same of Europe. Same of Japan. Win rate went down. Okay, this is my funny little anecdote, but let me just say this. You know why the win rates went down of every region except for Japan and Europe? Because Japan and Europe do all this wacky RNG crap already, but all the other regions like to reduce the amount of RNG. So having Yufine and Landy in every game just increases your odds of losing due to random RNG. Random, but you know, just the odds of RNG crap happening. Meanwhile, Japan and Korea and Europe are just like, I already do this. I already am full RNG. I don't even care, right? They're just like, it doesn't even matter. Same thing, right? You'll notice there's 2 more European players that got into Legend, and 3 more Japanese. Interesting. Good on them. 6 less Korea. And 3 less Asia and 2 more global. Less Asia and Korea, huh? Very interesting. But overall, win rates relatively similar, I would say. People had to play more matches. It's interesting that despite people really being mad about this meta, even more than the last one, I would say, is they played more. They had to play. It was more competitive. Emperor, let's see. The win rate is about the same. It's interesting. The win rate, I think it makes some sense that the win rate is usually similar, except for Korea. Just because Emperor, I mean, it all funnels down to the bottom of Emperor pretty much, where you'll have like 600 to 700 people out of the top 1,000 will be within like 5 points of each other at the bottom of Emperor by the end. Like, that's not even an exaggeration either. you'll gain like 1 point and you'll climb like 100 something ranks at the end of the season. It's insane how much it like just gets all stagnated towards the very bottom of Emperor. They played less matches though overall. Interesting. And this is just overall all of them. I like that the average win rate for bronze has gone up 0.1%. Good work to the person who placed in bronze, but won a little bit more often. Good work. Silver same. Gold actually going down with win rate. Same with Master and Challenger. Champion's basically the same win rate. Emperor actually went up in win rate, and Legend went down in win rate. Pretty interesting to see Legend go down in win rate by like 1%. I would actually say that makes a interesting difference. Like, I don't know if it means anything, but I mean, it's a struggle to get into top 100. So to see a whole percentage point go down, a little interesting. I'm not sure if it actually means anything. And then finally, they say the insight season of Navy Captain Landy and newly formidable Abyssal Fiend join as central figures displayed a season where heroes with counter capabilities against them took a pivotal role, leading to diversified counter compositions. Yes, it is very diverse. I've never seen Knights with Elvis before. This is a very diverse meta that you've created. Oh, I love seeing Elvis proc on single attacks. I love using my character on turn 1 to do a single attack S3 on one of your characters and I get countered twice and die. Oh, absolutely beautiful. So diverse feeling. The growing prominence of heroes such as Urban Shadow Shu and Death Dealer Ray, renowned for their ability to inflict injuries, underscores the evolving landscape of heroes. That does, like, what they just said doesn't mean anything. What do you mean? Underscores the evolving landscape of heroes? Bro. You buffed Death Dealer Ray to be one of the most broken characters in the history of Epic 7. It doesn't really matter if he does injury. It doesn't really matter, like, at all. Like, you buffed a guy to be completely broken. Yeah, I guess, you know, he's going to enter the meta, right? A character that you make really OP is going to be played a lot. I don't know if that really, you know, evolves the landscape of heroes. I would say it's more diminishes it, because then you have to pick characters that are good against that character because they run the meta so hard, you know? Kind of a bad thing in a way. In response, health-based heroes like Apocalypse, Ravi, and Lethe, known for the substantial offensive contributions, experience decline in influence. I would say we already started seeing less A-Ravi last season, but it's true. A-Ravi doesn't exist anymore. They're gone. I don't feel so good, Mr. Netmarble guy. He just poofed away pretty much, right? And yeah, you're not going to see as much Lethe either. But honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're health scaling or not. Characters like Death Dealer Ray just blow you up either way. But it is true that Urban Shadow Shu is able to counter that stuff pretty easily. Consequently, we made adjustments to Battle Frenzy effect, reducing its impact on health, and implemented changes to diminish the early effects of Battle Frenzy in battles. Cool. But, you know, realistically, it's not changing anything. Like, the health characters that were struggling, this does not help because they're still gone. Like, it just realistically doesn't change anything for them. We're closely monitoring the trends of heroes performing well in various indicators and continuously strive to provide a positive gameplay experience. Look, I'm just going to come out and say it. They got, like, an AI to write this. This is just a lie. Bro, if you closely monitoring the trends, bro, Emilius has been first picked for, like, 2.5 years. I don't even know how long she's been out. 2 years? 3 years? She's literally been first pick since then. She's still first pick, even with all your supposed counters. Like, are you monitoring anything? Or can you not just understand the stats? Do you need someone to help you? Same with Lua. Same with Angel Light. Same with all these, like, frustrating characters. You keep either making frustrating characters or buffing characters to become frustrating, and then they show up all the time, and people, like, get tired of them, of seeing them in every game, and you don't really do anything about them for, like, the longest time. Like, Laya, who's coming out, they're going to be great to deal with, like, Knockwall and Lua. Finally, great. I hope they actually reduce those characters being picked in the game, because they're so frustrating. But that's, like, one case out of a million, and how long has it taken for you to do this to stop Lua? Like, how many years has Lua been just tearing it up in RTA and just crushing people off of first pick and just obliterating you? a really, really, really long time. You guys are not doing so hot with this. I'll definitely say you really are not. You're not showing what you're saying. So I'm not sure I believe this. We look forward to another exciting showdown with the changed battle frenzy effect and performance of newly joining heroes. Let's ask for your enthusiastic support and participation in the officially introduced Draft Arena, scheduled for the first quarter of the year. The Epic 7 team always strive to provide the best gaming experience possible for our heirs. Thank you. Yeah. I wish I believed it. I know I sound a little defeated, but I feel that way. E7, it's been feeling kind of stale, not just for me. The numbers have kind of been showing it with revenue, and just I've also seen, as a more personal anecdote, I've seen a lot of people saying they're kind of done with the game. People have been leaving some guilds in the game. People are less excited. Not a great look at the moment, Smallgate. So in other words, nothing changed significantly. Heroes who have been in the meta for years are still relevant, so just a reminder, your balance team doesn't care. Heroes who have been meta for years should have been nerfed so other heroes can be utilized. Buffs can only do so much. I 100% agree with this, and I know a lot of people disagree with nerfs. But I think nerf's the right way to go. But let me extend an olive branch. As I said before, if they just buffed a ton of units, that could also potentially solve the issue as well. But if you do neither, then it just sucks ass and everyone is bored. Right? When you say stuff like Lua, who previously dominated pre-ban rankings, I guess I said that earlier, when she's still at the top of the list by more than 10% of second place, it's really hard to take anything you say seriously. Yeah. Yeah, it's like... Okay, so people only have 2 pre-bans, and now they have to pre-ban Landy and Yufine. There's only so many people that can pre-ban Lua, right? Like, I would say it's almost less that they helped balance it to make it so Lua's picked less, but they made such BS characters that people felt like they had to ban them instead of Lua. So, like, I bet those people would love to still ban Lua, to be honest. I don't think anything really changed there. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a good point. This game's trash Lamau. Do your jobs and nerf all this stuff. You already know what you need to hit, so do it. Annihilate the fuck out of all of it. If the next dozen or so patches aren't exclusively nerfs, you aren't doing your job. Okay, here's a hot take that I have. Well, at least everyone thinks it's a hot take. I personally think it's reasonable, but everyone looks at things differently. I think not wanting nerfs is selfish. I understand it's a gacha and people spend money on characters. Totally understand that. But like I don't see the difference between them buffing. Let's say they buffed 4 characters and made your favorite character, like let's say Hua Young was really OP still from the old days, and they buffed 4 characters, and those 4 characters obliterated Hua Young so hard that you just couldn't use her anymore, right? So she was just useless. What's the difference between that and nerfing her realistically? Like, let's just say that either way, in the end, the character is useless. Essentially, nerfs feel bad, right? The nerfs feel worse compared to just buffing other characters, but it ends in the same scenario realistically, right? I know it's not the literal exact same, but like, I do think people get a little too strung up on nerfs versus buffs as a thing, and I really wish that they would have a little bit more of an open mind, I feel. This is just my personal opinion. Other thing that I want to say that I can't believe this is a hot take. I actually can't believe it. If you think this is a hot take, then I think you're kind of part of the problem, but Epic 7 should have an RTA shop where they could sell, I don't know, like just as an example, charms, molas, hell, conquest points, other things like that. And maybe it's not unlimited farming. Maybe there's like a certain quota that you can farm per week or month or season or whatever, right? But I think they should add something like that to the game. And I see some people say they shouldn't add that and that they don't want to feel like they are forced to play RTA. Well, you know what? People don't want to do a lot of things. And you just have to suck it up. If you're not going to do it, you're not going to get the rewards. If you don't go to work tomorrow at your 9-to-5 job, you're not going to get paid, right? Unless you're on salary. Let's ignore that, though, right? If you don't do Nightmare Lab in Epic 7, which a lot of people don't do, by the way. A lot of people hate Nightmare Lab, even though it has really good rewards. But people don't say it shouldn't exist because I don't do it, or maybe some selfish people do. But like, what I'm trying to say is, isn't it very selfish to just say that RTA shops shouldn't exist because I don't want to feel forced to do it, or it would be stressful to me? All I can say is too bad. Like, let's say that the RTA shop gave you a bunch of rewards to like gear and other stuff. Well, you don't need that gear as much if you're not playing RTA anyways. So why are you complaining about not getting that gear, right? And I bet a lot of the same people that don't want to do RTA, like I bet there's a lot of people that overlap with the people that don't do Nightmare Lab, who also don't want RTA shop. Like, too bad. I don't want to do Abyss floors when they come out, but I do the Abyss floors. I'm not going to say, oh, they just shouldn't exist. Bro, I got anxiety doing floor, what was it, 102? It took me 8.5 hours of sitting there. I was yelling at my screen and sweating the whole time. I was so pissed. Floor 109 was even worse. I was so mad over those floors. Do I think that Abyss just shouldn't exist because I didn't want to do it and no one should get the rewards? No, that's an idiotic way of looking at it. That is an unbelievably selfish way of looking at it. So apparently it's a hot take to ask for an RTA shop. And I've had people argue with me in that in the past, but my mind is completely made up now. And I think if you honestly believe stuff like that shouldn't exist, which would actually interest people more in RTA and the game in general and give them stuff that they want to earn and do, then I think you are part of the problem of why this game's not as good. Just saying. Basically, people in the comments are pissed. And they're just like, bro, what the hell are you doing? This guy's so mad he's speaking in Spanish. I'm just kidding. But yeah, basically nobody is happy at all. Kind of a bit of an issue, I would say. And recent trends have kind of just shown overall unrest among E7 audience. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about all this stuff. Thanks a bunch for watching this video if you made it all the way to the end, which probably, like 5 people will. But hope you enjoyed my overall talk about kind of how the game is and some of the problems with it and how it relates to the meta and the overall trends. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time.